Hello? Hello? Can everybody take a seat? We're going to get started. Huh? It is. It's just everybody. Can I ask everyone to take a seat so we can get started? Oh, Jesus. My glasses. Can I ask everyone to take a seat? Everybody, can we get everybody to take a seat? We want to be respectful of your time. The boards in the back will be up all night, so you can wander over there as you feel free, but we'd like to be respectful of everybody's time and get started. Perfect. There's seats up front. Let's fill in some of these tables. Great. There's a couple seats over here. There's a couple seats over here. We can't let Jerry be by himself. Frank, is it on 77 or is it on? Yes, it is on 77. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming. For those who don't know me, I'm Jennifer DeBobry, and I'm the planning director for the Village of Islamorada. As you may have heard, and the reason you're all here is the village has embarked on updating our comprehensive plan for the first time since the village has been incorporated. We're updating the entire comprehensive plan. It's a very exciting process. We're all very excited and really looking forward to this process. We've engaged Able City East as our consultants on this project, so that's Jason King and Pam right here, King, and their team who are in the back mostly, or around. You'll meet them tonight. So they're going to host this charrette tonight, but I just wanted to thank them all for coming down, and they're going to be here all week. They've been here all weekend. They've spent a lot of time in the village. They've gotten to know the village, and I'll let Jason speak more about that, but we're super excited to have them on board and to get this process rolling. So thank you guys, and here we go.
Thank you. So welcome, yes. So my name is Jason King, and I get to be the project director for a very talented, multidisciplinary team of experts you're going to meet. We have economists and architects. We've got urban designers and a landscape architect. We've got a transportation planner. This is the beginning of the process for us, and we're going to be in this room basically for a week working on the plan. And then on Friday night, we're going to present the ideas that we heard. Now you can tell right now it's a clean slate. Everybody has in front of them a base map, and very shortly we'll get to the important part. And the important part is you giving us your ideas on that map, right? Let's do this. We're going to do, after a short presentation talking about the plan and the process, and we'll hear from our economist, and we'll talk a little bit about demographics. Then we'll do the hands-on exercise, and at each table there's a facilitator. In a lot of cases, there's both a consultant and there's a member of village staff. And then afterwards, we'll do an informal questions and answers. But what we're working toward, like I said, is Friday, March 28th here at 6 p.m. We're starting really with nothing, and except a conversation that we have with all of you. This conversation we're going to have over the course of the week is going to determine the goals and the policies and the actions of the comprehensive plan. So you see you see up there, and a lot of you have flyers. The Open Design Studio is from 9 a.m. to 6 here in this room. Our planners will be working at these tables. You're welcome to have informal conversations with them. You're welcome to look over their shoulders, critique and comment. And like I said, on Friday night here at 6 o'clock, we'll present what we heard. And we'll ask you if we got it right. We'll ask you if the plan is headed in the right direction. Now, this isn't our last conversation, and the creation of a comprehensive plan usually takes about a year and a half. So now we did a kickoff meeting. We met many of you. We've been doing analysis. Pam has made maps that you see up around the room. This is the public charrette, and then through the spring and the summer, like I said, we take the ideas we hear from you and we formalize them and we turn them into the plan document. Then we'll come back, we'll present the plan in late summer, the adoption process, the formal, full adoption process, in which everyone has, time to speak to the village council. That begins in the fall. We're trying to move quick, but we also want to get it right. So it'll take multiple drafts. We have a website, and there's a link to our website, our project website, if you go to the village website. And we're going to put up drafts and comments. All the things that you see tonight, all the PowerPoint presentations are going to be available, and you can send other people those links. So what is a comprehensive plan? So every Florida municipality is required to have a comprehensive plan, and they're required to update their comprehensive plans. And there's a lot of different plans, and you've all been working on plans, recreation plans and transportation plans, sustainability plans. The comprehensive plan is sort of the overarching document. It's the one that, in a way, enables all of the others. It's a guiding document to direct capital improvements, evaluate development projects, guide public policy, and ensure that Alamorada continues to be the place that its residents and its visitors want it to be. The parts of the comprehensive plan are different elements: future land use, conservation, housing, public facilities, transportation. What we're going to do is have a very general and open-ended conversation. Our job as urban planners is to take whatever brought you here, whatever your passion is, whatever your perspective is, to take those and to turn that into somewhere in the comprehensive plan. Whatever idea you came with tonight has a place in this plan. And like I said, this plan is going to build upon the work that we've been doing a lot of research. We've been doing a lot of reading. This plan is going to take the other things that you've been working on, and we're going to bring those ideas, those concepts, into it. Now, through the week, we're going to be having a series of informal meetings about different technical topics. And so while tonight is a very overall broad, what are your top goals, through the week we'll get into the specifics of zoning and the future land use map, right? We'll talk about village-owned parcels, and you can give us ideas for what should happen there. We're going to be reconciling different perspectives. The project, this is called the Blueprint for Balance. Our job is to create a plan that everybody has an idea. Everybody gets something they want, we say. Nobody gets everything, right? Our job as planners is to mediate, and it's to find common ground. So the maps are here and available, but through the week we'll spend more time on them. We'll be talking on stuff about like sea level rise, and we'll be talking about storm surge. Resilience and the future of these islands is a huge part of our project. Now, just a couple statistics. The population of the village is about 7,000 people, and the number of units is around 6,000. It's 6,000 housing units. If we look at just some of the key indicators of population and some trends, and I found it helpful to compare Alamorada to the mainland. Not exactly Florida City or Homestead, but we started to compare it to, let's say, to South Miami. If you get on US 1, you drive north to like the first walkable urban area, it's gonna be South Miami. And in a lot of ways, demographically, in terms of median household incomes, there's a lot of similarities. But the differences are really interesting. So Alamorada saw its population rise in recent years. If we compare it to South Miami, or really anywhere on the Florida mainland, there was a lot of development that happened in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. But what's different here is so much happened in recent years. And Alamorada saw its building boom between the 70s and the 90s. And that was a period that a lot of people in this room remember. you know? So a lot of us came to Florida, and our Florida hasn't changed very much. But your Florida, your Islamorada, this village has changed so dramatically and so quickly over the years. So that's one thing you can't help but notice. Islamorada is growing faster than the county. So this, you know, you probably know this, but this is like the most choice-worthy place in a lot of ways in the whole of the Florida Keys. And the secret is out. And Islamorada is growing faster than the rest of the county. At the same time, it is growing slower than say, the Orlando area or these other areas. What's different about Islamorada is every parcel, every tree, every roadway matters when it comes to this plan. It's got to be very, very specific. This is not an enormous, you know, Pam and I have planned Lee County, which is like the size of Rhode Island. Here, every single detail matters. And your job is to help us learn about Islamorada so we who are not from here can plan for it. 20 years ago, I was a planner with the county. I made my way up to a senior planner in the Plantation Key office. Pam and I and our team have worked all around the country, all around the world. I tell you, this is the plan I always wanted to do because we never really left. We live in Miami, but every weekend we come down to Islamorada. Our boat is in the Snake Creek Marina. My kids have been to that beach 5,000 times. We just love this place. And we, in a way, our job is to sort of give back. I think because we've been visiting Islamorada for so long. One thing that's changed in those 20 years is that Islamorada, even compared to wealthy South Miami or other places, Palm Beach, Islamorada is very, very wealthy and very, very pricey. The change in the median household price here is greater and more dramatic than anywhere I have ever seen. And we've worked in Boston or in San Francisco, and yet things have just, the skyrocketing hockey stick of property value change has been so enormous. There's a little part of these graphs here where you see South Miami, and then we compare it to Islamorada, and just the number of houses that are valued in the millions is so much higher, you know. So that's interesting. So the radical change of just the influx of people, there's also a whole other socio-demographic change that's happening. Now, Islamorada Incorporated, if you remember 30 years ago, one of the reasons Islamorada Incorporated was to take control over its growth and its future. And after incorporation, building permits sort of leveled out for a while and started to go down. So that's interesting, you know. And now the other thing is that Islamorada's population is significantly older than the mainland. With a median population of 56, South Miami is 39. So it's another aspect to this. One challenge for us is going to be to plan for the next generation and the generation after that. Young people tend not to want to come to public meetings and talk about urban planning for some reason. And our job is going to be to think even outside of our own interests and perspective and plan for future generations. One other interesting thing about Islamorada that you see in the demographics is we always look at commute times. Now, as you know, the commute time in Islamorada has gone up and up and up. And you see that there are two different commute times in Islamorada. The most common is between 20 and 35 minutes. About 30%, let's say 27% of people experience that, a commute of 20 to 34 minutes. Those are people coming down from the mainland. The increasing amount of traffic happening on US 1 has a lot to do with the fact that housing is unaffordable, and you know all this. But we're just sort of establishing some points of conversation when you get to your maps. More and more people are driving down from Florida City and from other parts of Miami. And so there's that commute, which is 20 minutes to 34 minutes and expected to go up. There's another commute that happens in Islamorada, it's 25% of people, and it's less than 9 minutes. So that's interesting. Right now, for people here, you are generally able to go from place to place. And the morning commute is a lot less than the average people. In South Miami, the average commute is over 30 minutes. You know, so what does that say? Things are still pretty good. As difficult as traffic feels here, the rest of us know something worse. And one of our jobs is to make sure that that what's happening up there doesn't happen down here, right? Now, there's a poll, an online poll. If you go to the village's website, and you'll see a link to the comprehensive plan, and then you'll see a link to an online poll. And I think over 80 or 90 people have participated in this poll. This is another important thing to look at and to send to people, so that way we can continue that conversation happening online. Now, here's an interesting question that we asked. Nuki, one of our planners who you'll meet, asked, what are your top 3 priorities for the comprehensive plan update? And you can see it broken down by color, right? The number one, traffic, right? Nearly 21% of people said that is the number 1 priority. Then came preservation at around 15%, conservation at around 12%. There's a fear of density, which is around 10%, and then other concerns, right? Affordable housing, 8%, the concern about sea level rise and climate change at 6%. So these are the kind of things we're going to be talking about. Pam is going to lead us in some keypad polling exercises tonight in which we ask more questions and continue to get feedback. Traffic, as that's a big concern, is going to be one of the things that we talk about in this studio this week. You know, if you look, it's hard to see where you're sitting, but the Florida Department of Transportation did an arterial travel time and study. It looked at the whole of the Florida Keys, and you see that Islamorada is the pinch point. Islamorada is the place where the traffic volumes, you give like a scorecard, a report card to places. Places have A and B. It's practically a free flow of movement. But here in Islamorada, it is D and E and C. This is the spot where everything gets very tight. And so, you know, you feel it. You're aware of that. That's going to be one of our jobs. That's going to be something that we're working on. Let me introduce you to Kevin. He'll talk about some of the questions that he's been thinking about.
Hi, thanks for having us. I lived in Rhode Island for a long time, so I've always loved having a geographic comparison to the state of the size of the state of Rhode Island, especially from especially from places a lot bigger. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. A couple of things. One of the issues when looking at economic data is inherently always looking backwards, because the way the dating and the reporting, particularly at local level, so some of this data is going to be a little bit lagged, and I just want you to know that. There's a bunch of codes you're going to see, and I'm just going to highlight a couple because they're going to be important. Hospitality is accommodation in restaurants. Con is construction. Miscellaneous services is things like barbershops and car repair. Health SS is healthcare. The art rec is arts, entertainment, recreation, and then you can see what the rest of them are. This is one of the most intense locations for hospitality jobs I've seen, and I've worked a lot of places. And this is not even counting tourism jobs. This is just hospitality. This is just restaurant and hotel related jobs. So 48% of the jobs here are tied to that, and that's both full and part-time. And comparison to the Keys overall, it's 37%. So just as a comparison point. The other thing is that the county has 2 times the number of jobs in healthcare professional services compared to the village. And part of that is reflected in who the residents are and where you work. So these are the jobs that you have here, but these are the people who live here and where they work. And only about half the size in hospitality, and then you can see that healthcare, construction, professional technical services, which is things like legal, consulting, et cetera. So there's a very, very big difference. And about 15% of your residents actually work in jobs that would require, well, they don't require an office anymore, but 10 years ago you would have worked in an office. And also similar to the population, you've had about 32% job growth. The county's only grown at 21%. So you've added about 1,000 jobs. That's a lot of jobs to add. The thing that's also important to note is that your resident workforce grew, let me take that back. The number of jobs you had grew 4 times faster than your workforce. So you're literally now, you've always been taking people in, You are really taking people in now. And then you can see what the employment change is by sector, and essentially almost all the jobs have been in hospitality-related jobs. So what does that mean? And this is interesting given what we talked about, the level of service related to traffic. It's about, the estimate is that there's around 3,500 people, or 79% of the people are commuting into Islamorada for work. You have about 20% of your local residents are actually meeting the jobs in the community, but most of your residents are working elsewhere. And part of that, again, is because the industry differences between what's here on the island versus what are the other opportunities across the county or on the homeland. The thing that's really important here is that's actually down from 2012. Again, going to the point of how much this village has changed. So it used to be 31% of the jobs were met by residents and only 68% commuted in, and now it's 20 and 79. And so where are they coming from? And I guess you can guess by what the traffic looks like in the morning. It looks like it's around 55% are coming from the mainland. Actually, on my way down here today, I was behind one of the employee shuttles, and they were getting dropped off at every single resort along the way. 18% from just up the ways a little bit, and almost no one from the lower keys. So just give you kind of a frame of perspective. The visitor data, this is taken from a study that's done for the Monroe County Tourism Group. You actually have a shorter length of stay than the Keys overall. So this is more of like a staycation dynamic here. As Jason said, coming down and enjoying our boat for the weekend, kind of dynamic. And the thing that's also really important here is when you look at what visitors do to come to Keys, and I like to get down here 3 or 4 times a year, if I can do that, sometimes 6. It's the water. And that has implications too, which means you have to have working waterfronts. People need stuff to do with their boats. They want to fish. They want a boat. They want to scuba dive. So what happens to the working waterfronts and how the economics of those work going forward is another key, because in reality, that's a part of who you are. I mean, it's literally, when you drive in, you're the fishing capital of the world, basically. So this is another important thing as we go forward on this process, to think about land use and transportation and how they're all related together. And now I think we're going to do some live polling.
Yep, let's do that.
All right, thank you, Kevin. And so everyone pull out your cell phones, because this is what we're going to use in order to do the polling. And so you're going to send a text message. The text message is going to the number 22333. And the message that you are going to send to that number is in capitals, A, City 687. So I know it takes a little bit of time to punch that in. And so you're sending a message to 22333, and your message is A, City 687.
Now, just raise your hand if you're having problems with this, and one of our staff could come around and give you a hand. So just, Pam's got another very important slide to show in this process, but if you have any questions or any issues, just raise your hand, and someone will come around.
As we're putting it in, if it accepts it, you're going to get a message back that says you've joined the poll. It will look like that, but I'm going to go back a little bit just so we still have up. We're sending A City 687 to the number 22333. Yes. Is this better? Can you hear me better now? Okay. All right, thank you. So I'm not on my tiptoes.
She's saying that it's a scam.
Oh, well.
Oh, I might have.
I haven't heard that before.
No. Altogether.
Do not enter your social security number. So is everybody getting logged in? I know we're waiting for one more person that's having some trouble. All right. So you should have received a confirmation that you were in. And so when we are answering questions, you're going to send the answer to that number. And so most of these are going to be A, B, C, D, but there's a couple where you can type in whatever word you want. And so the first one we're just going to test out, see how it's working. Is your mailbox in the shape of a dolphin, manatee, fish, or other animal?
Does it have to be in capitals?
It doesn't have to be in capitals at this point. Yes is A, and no is B.
So we have a lot of out-of-town consultants working on this project, and they couldn't help but notice the manatee mailboxes. But it's well-traveled people have never seen that before in their life. And so Pam just starts to wonder what percentage of people. So yeah, you just put in A for yes and B for no.
Make sure to hit the send button so that it processes and goes. Right now it seems like no one has one.
No one has one, really? Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's local.
So you put yes and it didn't go through? Oh, yeah, so right now everyone has said no. So the answers that pops up, it shows us the percentage of who has answered what. And so no one has one of those here.
All right, so that's interesting.
So our next question. Choose the statements that you most identify with. A, I am a full-time resident of Islamorada. B, I am a part-time resident of Islamorada. C, I own a business in Islamorada. D, I work in Islamorada. And E, I frequently spend time and vacation in Islamorada. Now, if you have two of these, maybe you live here full-time and you own a business, you can answer twice on this question.
In the same text or separate text?
A separate text.
So if I want to put A and C, I've got to do it twice?
You would do A and send, and then C and send. So it looks like mostly we have full-time residents, but we do have...
It doesn't. No,
Oh, it's not letting you do the second one? I'm sorry.
You can no longer respond to this activity. Reach the maximum number of responses.
I guess I messed up that one.
More than one reply, maybe.
All right. Well, primarily, you identify your full-time residents, and so we're so happy to have you here. You know, this plan is what's going to affect you most, and, you know, we want to know how you want your community to grow. We've given a lot of facts about the things we see, but is that what you want for Islamorada?
Right, so yeah, that explains the lack of manatee mailboxes, is mostly we're talking to full-time residents. That's interesting.
So the next question, how long have you been connected to Islamorada? Less than a year, A. 1 to 5 years, B. 6 to 10 years, C. 11 to 20 years, D. And more than 20 years. And I could have kept going, but I feel like, you know, after 20 years, like, you're really here. And so that's the majority of the people that are here. More than 45 or almost 50% now as the numbers keep coming in. So you have seen a lot of change happen in Islamorada. But yeah, still quite a few in the 11 to 20 year range and the 6 to 10 year range. So the next question. Do you ever walk, bike, or use a golf cart instead of your car to go somewhere? So this isn't just the exercise walk. This is like, are you walking, are you biking, or using a golf cart instead of your car to go somewhere? Never is A, sometimes is B, C, often, and D, daily. So as they're coming in, like sometimes and often, you know, those modes of travel are being used a lot. Exactly. It's the bridges that kind of keep doing it more, but at least island to island, if it's within an island, you can do that.
So this is another interesting thing. This makes Islamorada distinct. You know, most places we go, we ask this question. It's like 95% would say never. But look at this. Nearly half of people are in their car, biking, or using a golf cart. So that affects how we plan, right?
You know, we want to make that, we want to work on getting that more to the often, more to the daily. Like you said, the bridges are a pinch point where you can't do that. And so what can we put in the plan that can help support that and make doing that, and especially local trips, so you don't have to necessarily use US 1 in your car, what can we do to help facilitate that?
You should add boat to that question.
We will.
I will. How often do you drive to the mainland? Once a day, A. Once a week, B. Once a month, C. A few times a year, D. Or never, E.
Mostly never.
Mostly never. Once a week, once a month. Have a lot of responses. So staying local, but definitely still needing to go, having some reason that you're going to the mainland. Someone up here said that's called Walmart, just so you can hear the conversation too. So yeah, about once a month or once a week, having to take that commute all the way into the mainland, which I'm sure, you know. So is boating a part of your life? You know, you said to add boat to that kind of commute. So what percentage of the people here is some kind of boating a part of your life? Yes is A, and no is B.
Is this questionnaire going to be available on the website as well?
Yeah. And these are different than the ones on the website, but we add them.
So about 73% say yes and 28% no. So a good percentage, but we were not quite sure where that was going to land. Yes?
I didn't quite get that question. There are people that aren't here tonight. Will they be able to take this same?
Yes, yeah. So the online poll, these questions are not on there yet, but we're going to add these questions to the online poll. Yeah.
But there are people that are watching this on TV and joining it too, right?
If, yeah, if they were here and they saw how to log in, then they could be answering this question as well.
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Are you satisfied with the look of Islamorada, the man-made environment?
So it goes without question. Islamorada is one of the most beautiful natural environments in the world, right? You see that every sunrise, every sunset. This question is about the man-made environment. So these are the buildings, streets.
Parking, all of that. And so very much A, yes is B, no is C, and like emphatically not at all, D. We've got a good split. Some people are satisfied with it and some people are not. It's really kind of close to the middle. Getting a few more yeses now.
So a lot of you had a chance. We have the red and green dot, the visual preference survey over in the corner. That, if you have a chance tonight at any point or during the week, it's just placing red and green dots on images. And what we're trying to find out is, what would you like to see more of and what would you like to see less of? So it kind of goes to that 40% of people that said no. But by the end of this, Friday night, by Friday night, we will have, we'll be showing all kinds of proposals and ideas for the future. And that kind of exercise gives us ideas of how we should draw.
And along those same lines, this is a question where you can type in the answer. Is if we were to create design standards to improve the look of Islamorada, what building should we go see? Or what is the most quintessential Islamorada looking building? We know this is not Key West. We don't want to remake that here. And so how do we make this look more Islamorada? So if you have an idea of what building we need to go look at, you can type it in here and we will make sure to go and take a look at that this week. So Murata Way neighborhood, provide suggestions.
This is a tough one, right? Because you don't know the addresses, but just generally, the Chamber Building, the Murata Way neighborhood, right? Like the Budgeting Arts District. Yeah.
Or you can come talk to us afterwards as well on this one. We just wanted to know from you what we should be looking at. A lot about the Murata Bay, the Arts District. The Chamber Building is beautiful. The Islander. So I'm going to let this run just for another moment or two so that as people are answering, it can come in. And then we've just got a couple more questions. You like the Publix?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even necessarily have to be here. Not the white Miami box houses. Pierre's, I think I saw that before too. Banyan Tree. These are all great. Piece of Tibet, we were there earlier today. The Green Turtle. Thank you so much. These are great suggestions to make sure that we're getting out there and getting a good look at them. So I'm going to give this a few more seconds to process, but I'm going to cut it off in about 10 seconds. Lots of Pierres.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. They're still coming in. No major box stores. Old Tavernier. All right, I'm going to move to the next question. Should the village facilitate workforce housing for workers in Isla Mirada? So this is if there are workers in Isla Mirada, should the village be doing something to help them find housing in Isla Mirada? A is absolutely, B is yes, C is maybe, D is no, and E is I don't know enough yet.
And then, so through the week, we'll be asking tougher and tougher questions. You know, we move from the questions about the manatee mailboxes to very specific goals like this one.
So yeah, lots of absolutelys, yeses, maybes. There's no no's at this point. Some people need more information, so do we. We just wanted to gauge where the community felt on this. Is this something we should be working really hard to figure out? So, should the village take steps to preserve the essence of Isla Mirada's story and identity, i.e. the working waterfront, which is also key to the tourism-based economy?
So this is a question from Kevin. You know, like Kevin talked about with his presentation, sometimes it feels like the essence of the Keys and of Isla Mirada is the waterfront experience. So should the village take steps to preserve that?
Well, I think one of the questions, when you say working waterfront, are you talking about marinas specifically, or are you talking about where the commercial fishermen go in and out of?
Yeah, good question.
I think it's both. I think
Yeah.
those are both part of your economy.
Consider all of the above when we talk about it. On the
The state
LCA,
definition
get into it,
says
all of the above.
protect public access to the water. It talks about tourism and actually has specific numbers. Where they're getting is because if you look at our comp plan, it only talks about the commercial fishing. It left out the whole thing about protecting the tourist part of the economy. But that's in Florida statutes, so we should be consistent with Florida statutes, because you're gonna have to be anyway.
That's interesting. Okay.
All right, so yes, definitely working on helping the working waterfronts and making sure they stay. So we got two more questions, and they're kind of related. Right now is just one word that comes to your mind about Isla Mirada right now. When you think about Isla Mirada, what's that one word that comes to mind?
All right, so you see, the more times someone said a thing, the larger the word is, right? So right out of the gate, Traffic, multiple people are saying it. You can kind of second, the words that you like by repeating them.
Crowded is also kind of large, but also beautiful. Community, but also oversold, instability. Perfect, views. So yeah, there's the positives, there's the negatives. It seems to have stopped moving, so I'm going to go to the next question, which is one word that comes to mind about Islamorada in the future. So how this plan is going to help Islamorada in the future, how do you see this island, your home? Green, balanced, underwater, beautiful, balanced, fishing, conservation, paradise.
It'd be interesting to see the people that have been here for 40 years or 20 years or longer, what they're saying versus the people that have been here for that other cohort.
Yeah, the people that haven't been here as long compared to the people that have been here longer. But in the future, this is going to be the Islamorada for everyone. So, all right. Well, we're hoping this week, with your help, we can put the plan together that's going to help make this in the future vision. And so, Jason, I'm going to pass it back to you as we get into the other exercises.
All right, so we're about to break into the smaller groups. The different exercises, we talked about how there's a community image survey in the back, and feel free to do that at any time. All right, so now on each table there is a map that shows the whole of Islamorada. And then each table also has a big idea sheet. What we're going to do is break into smaller groups to have conversations around the map. Draw your ideas. Write down your ideas. Make sure that whatever you came here with is written down. If not on the map, then take this pads of paper on each one of the different tables also. There's a list of facilitator instructions, and these are questions we were hoping that your table would consider. What should be improved in Islamorada? What should be preserved in Islamorada? Is there adequate parking? Do you walk or bike? So you have this sheet, which has all the different questions, all right? And it's really just it's a conversation starter. It's an icebreaker. Your conversation can go wherever you'd like it to go. We are going to work at our tables for about 35 minutes. When we reach about the 35, 40-minute mark, then you're going to start putting down your big ideas. What were the top 5 things that your group talked about? All right, you ready? Go.
Great crowd, huh?
Great crowd.
I can't even get anybody in the front.
Everybody, hello,
this over then.
Hey. Say start getting your 5 big ideas.
All right. All right, everybody. We got 5 more minutes. This is where you want to start on that big 5 idea sheet if you haven't done that. In 5 minutes, we'll start the pinups. So work on that sheet, your summary sheet. All right, so our kids are fine. 5 minutes is going to be 7:30. Okay. I think I might just stop
discuss a lot of things, but nothing's written down.
sit here, am I in the way? If I sit here, am I in the way? Okay. I'll just sit over here then. All right. I think we're ready to start. There is still plenty of food in the back. Feel free to grab a sandwich or a snack. If you'd like to come closer to the front in order to hear our speakers, feel free to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 tables tonight, so just take a few minutes. If it feels like everything has already been said, then you can just, second what you've heard. But sort of act as if you're a television news person giving the highlights for the day, the top 5 ideas. And our Pam and the crew are going to put the maps behind you, and you can just bring up your top 5 idea sheet. All right, so we're going to sort of go around the room this way, counterclockwise. Let's start with table 11. We have a spokesperson for table 11. Don? Let's start with you.
What are we talking about here? Just everything we put on the map?
Yep.
All right, let's see. Starting on Plantation Key, we wrote forwards and backwards and upside down. So we talked about maybe doing local traffic only on the old road on Plantation Key. Maybe installing a tunnel instead of this large bridge going into Founders Park. Somebody suggested moving or hiding the lobster. Making right turns only off of the old road instead of people trying to fight back onto the highway. I can't read this one, I'm sorry. They talked about poor visibility in this area where Alina's property is and all in Plantation Beach subdivision because of the vegetation and biking being dangerous in this area. We did talk about maybe speed humps or something or, instead of stop signs. That was kind of 50-50 at our table. Some controlled parking in Upper Matacumbe, maybe municipal parking on all of the islands, but not just parking on the right-of-way throughout wherever you find a spot. We had lots of questions about, other than maybe selling the old Irene and George's or Island Silver and Spice property, maybe some parking and workforce housing or a storefront or some combination thereof. No parking on the fills was one of the ideas. Fix the zoning on the old tennis court area of Lower Matacumbe so that there could be maybe a pickleball court or something there. And what else did we talk about? Change the bridge to opening over on every 2 hours instead of every hour. We talked about biking being dangerous. A lot of it was because of the intersections. Maybe trying to find a way to make it golf cart friendly communities on each island. Slowing the growth. And making, I don't understand, something about all through traffic. I don't know what that meant. And maybe considering the fact of having autonomous cars being able to move people around and having some kind of transit system like that. So that's what we talked about.
Thank you. Let me take that.
Table 7.
Perfect, just like that. Table 7. And remember, yes, you have the option of bringing up all table members.
Thank you, sir.
Just say your name.
Good evening, Alamorada. I'm Van Cadenhead, and I've been lucky enough to live here for 65 years. Do we have a bingo?
Actually, you're heard all over.
Well, I thought they could hear me in the back as it was. I'm Van Cadenhead, and I've been lucky enough to live here all my life, 65 years of it. And these people, we agreed on just about everything. And I'd like to read our top 5. That's the last one. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Our top 5 things that we all agreed on was TDR redo to maintain neighborhood integrity so that the square footage of the TDR was not reflected a 400-foot motel room into a 10,000 square foot McMansion on Millionaires Row.
Just to say that, more like keeping, if it's a residential TDR, single family housing, it should stay that and not turn into a 10,000 square foot vacation rental. The TDRs were meant to help us if future takings, in case we needed to have, the village needed some of that flexibility.
Roger, but that's been changed over the years. So we decided that number 2 spot should be village-wide shoreline management plan, due to the fact that the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary goes to the high tide line all around Islamorada. So we're subject to the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary up to the high tide line. We can ask for federal help, state help, and also for enforcement of any rules that we happen to come up with as far as resolutions. And instead of having exclusion zones for boats, we could have no motor zones, which would not exclude bone fishermen from poling in these areas, but it would have no anchor ability in these marked off areas. So we think it should be a village-wide all the way around, just not White Marlin Beach and Sunset Drive. We think it should be ubiquitous everywhere. And which leads us into 3, which is preserving our native habitat. We've lost more and more trees, more and more scarified properties in the last 20 years, and it's been shown on the screen tonight in their presentation by the amount of construction that's been going on in the last 20 years. And this has got to come to a screeching halt, and we hope we can do this by resolution that makes everybody happy. It's not going to make some people happy, but it's going to make, I believe, the longtime residents happy.
And for Able City, if you go back, we had a planner here named Dan Galizio who did a presentation, and he showed the maps from 20 years ago. There had all this vacant property, and then he showed what it's like today, and you can't even barely pick out empty lots. So we definitely need to preserve what we have.
And that's number 4 now, or 2, is turn the Island Silver and Spice property into workforce housing. I believe we have room there for 17 affordable housing units with enough left over for an appreciable amount of parking right there in the village center. And when I say workforce housing, I'm not talking about 3 2s that we give away to Habitat for Humanity. I'm talking about 1 1s that are for single people or a couple that work in the tourism industry or the retail industry in Islamorada. Hospitality. So they don't have to go to Homestead and get cut off by a fire and can't get to work. We'd like to have all of our, as many as possible, people that work here able to live here and afford to live here. And affordable housing is not $2,500 a month. Affordable housing is $1,000 a month or less for a studio efficiency somewhere that we could put a bunch of them right there at Island Silver and Spice. And last but not least, and probably one of the most important that we came up with and unanimously agreed on, keep the 35-foot height limit. Do not allow it to become anything other than the height of the tallest palm tree. That's what we had when we had the referendum when Bob Johnson was the mayor, and I was helping him buck for this. 35 feet has been working fine, and I don't think we need to go up 20 stories or 50 feet. I think 35 feet is the height of the tallest palm tree, and that was the gauge we used, and I think we should keep that. I don't want to go over time, but these people, we have a lot more ideas than this, but we also have a lot more tables than this. So thank you for your time, and we thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you very much.
If I could have your notes, it would be terrific. I can always take pictures and give them back.
Table 4?
Right. Table 4. Let's see. Table 4.
They're pointing at each other.
Ah, I see. All right.
They're volunteering each other.
There you go. Just say your name.
Jason Richards, Table 4, Alamorado. All right. So, I don't think that's our plan. Is that our plan? Yeah, it is. All right. So we'll start with update and clean up and redevelop some of the eyesores in the community. Government or affordable apartments are common use for the new property they bought down in Alamorado, the old church. Island Silver and Spice turned that into a new fire station and EOC with a parking garage. Turned the old fire station in Alamorado into maybe public works, so they've got places to store their equipment out of the weather. Have a fireboat here at Founders Park so we can respond to emergencies on the water, which is really needed. And then, why is this thing upside down? Oh, the Jewfish, or the Snake Creek. Open at 7 and 3:30, twice a day. That's it. You can't make that go around. Big ideas. Toll booth would be nice. Resident only tag for the old road. If you're caught without a tag, you're getting a ticket if you're trying to beat traffic. Affordable housing, workforce for Alamorado residents only, teachers, law, fire, government employees, to keep our teachers and law and fire people, give them a place to live. Do something down at the Phils. And we need our own District 7 local office in the Florida Keys and stop relying on FDOT District 6. So that's all I got.
That's great. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Table 3.
Table 3. Table 3. Hello, Judy.
Oh, good. There are two of us. I'm Judy from the Chamber and from Table 3, and this is Jonathan from Island Disposal and Table 3. We have the most colorful chart, so we want points for that. I wouldn't say that our table was 100% in agreement on everything, but we were passionate about everything. So the first thing that we did to our map is we marked all of our public water boat ramps because we felt do not ever lose your public water access. So we marked those. We don't have very many. We'd like to point that out. The second thing, well, the first thing we marked was to identify where all of our keys are. And then one of our major thoughts is we just need to reimagine everything. Don't do this game if you assume that everything has to stay the same, because then nothing will come from this game. So reimagining was the first thing. and protecting water access. I already mentioned never, ever, ever let a public boat ramp go away. And if you can figure a way to get more, you should figure a way to get more. A lot of times it's assumed that everyone has water access, that if you have a house here and you live here, you can get in the water. That is not true, and we shouldn't start the conversation at that point. We would like to see more green space, and we would like to see water transportation of some form. So again, go back to that reimagining word. We want to see some of this workforce, some of this traffic be put in the water. So figure a way to have water transportation. And then probably, I don't want to say any of these were more important than others, but water quality, just our water quality and dealing with our recycling and our plastic and what's happening to our water. Those are all important.
Yeah, well, that's every point, so it was fantastic. I'm just going to reiterate the water quality side of things. Like, we heard that's why people come down here, for the ocean. So if we don't have, funds going towards, obviously that's largely a nonprofit effort. It's conservation in general is a nonprofit effort. So we definitely need to put more focus towards that, just as a community, across the board. And then the other thing was the water access, where when you're talking about public access versus access for residents who live here, I know that there's a lot of neighborhood access boat ramps, but a good point was if I live in the colony and I want to go to Indian Key, that's very hard for me. I can't put my kayak in at my private boat ramp and then work my way down to Indian Key. That takes too long. And if you're going to drive anywhere outside of your own little neighborhood boat ramp, where do the residents go? It's very, very, very limited, and what is out there, we're splitting with everybody coming down. We're starting to get more towards a point, like we said, it's a little bit more resident focused than tourist focused. We've kind of always been so reliant on tourists, and of course, I know we can't say no tourists because we need everybody to be coming down, but we do need to look out for the quality of life of the residents as well, which is getting lost very quickly. So that's about it. Green space for birds. Sorry, green space for birds on top of buildings.
Thank you. Can I take your notes? Thank you.
Table 2.
All right, great. Yes. So table 2, and how many more do we have, Pam?
There's 4 after that.
Great. So we've got 5 more tables. So table 2, do we have a representative from table 2? Right, so we have a kids table this time, and these kids are my kids, and they travel all over the country with us. We don't usually let them present, but they've been coming down to Alamorada for a long time. So this is, and I hope that we're always coming down to Alamorada. So this time they get a chance to present too. Yeah.
Hey, so again, I'm his son, and so what we were just seeing is a lot of you guys wanted to have the workforce that is here to have places to live in order to have it. That will also help with the traffic. If they have a place to live here, that's going to prevent them from having to come from the mainland and having to travel all down this down the road. So instead of a 30-minute commute time or 20-minute commute time, it could be 10 minutes. That means there's still going to be cars on the road, but it's going to be for a shorter period of time. And then also, if people are living closer to where they work, that comes to the walkability. If we're able to somehow get more bike paths that are protected from the road, that way people feel safe doing that, and they don't feel like they're in danger from cars. So just creating bike paths and protected bike lanes along with more sidewalks. It's very inconsistent where sidewalks are on these islands, and so we just need to make sure that we keep adding more and we're able to protect what there already is. Same thing with we need, just going off of what other people are saying, how we can't have no tourism, we still need to have some. but we need to be able to control that. We still need to, keep safe the environment that we have here. It's really great. There's no place in the country, maybe the world, like this, where there's only a couple miles from one side of the island to the other at any time. And then also just having more public water access. There's not a lot of boat ramps, and we need to keep those boat ramps that are there. And then also something that I don't see here as often as I do in other places around the country that are coastal, even up in the Northeast where it's super cold and there's freezing, biting winds, where here you don't really have that as much, is boardwalks. Boardwalks just right along the water that you're able to just walk whenever you want, just to enjoy a nice sunset. Another thing is we need to have more parks, more family-friendly spaces, just where someone can take their kids for an afternoon. Just nice and simple, something to get out of the house to do. And then, I liked someone mentioned something about water transportation. In Venice, they do that all the time, and it's worked out for them. It's what they're known for. It has made it very touristy, so maybe we keep it, for the workforce. That keeps a lot of the cars that are on the road and helps traffic, which a lot of people feel like is a big problem over here, like with most of the country. So if we have, and maybe we add parking isn't that big of a deal, but maybe somewhere we add a small parking garage in one of these vacant lots, just because we're going to have to need that eventually, as more people eventually do come here inevitably, no matter what we do. So, and then just preserving water access. That's about it.
Good job, buddy. All right. That was great. Yeah, I know. That's right. That's right. All right. Table 5 is next. Table 5. Funny. Thanks, Alyssa.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everybody. My table had to step out for the night, so I will represent them tonight. So very similar to the previous table that just went, a lot of similar ideas. Some good diversity in the table. We had a really long-time resident who was comparing development back then to how it is now. So a lot of buildings and a lot of traffic. We also have a local business owner and somebody that also lives here and works remote, has only been here a year. So a lot of different perspectives. So we drew a little bit on here, and with those diverse perspectives, we kind of got controlled development as one of the big ideas, which the village is working very hard to do, as well as with input from all of our citizens. There's just a little too much and too many buildings and too many cars. So I think we can all agree on the too many cars, for sure. Which kind of led into the promote tourism infrastructure, but also more specifically referencing mobility. So e-bikes potentially, sidewalks, building up the existing bike lanes and adding more shade structures, trees, generally making it safer. And so one area specifically referenced is Upper Matt. That whole frontage from Whale Harbor all the way down to Bud and Mary's, finding a way to make that safer and accessible so that you can have a lot more people not in cars, get some cars off the road. As well as more public access to waterfront. And that includes views and walkability, just general living down here, experiencing down here, and what we're all down here to experience, which brings me to the fourth point of just general ocean awareness and anything we can do to maximize why we're all down here. So our recreation opportunities, our biology, ecology, the coral reefs, mangroves, fish, seagrass beds. Without all that, a lot of us would not be here. So maximizing our impacts on the environment in a positive way. Regenerative practices. And so that's about it. It was a small group, so thank you.
Table 8.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so my table was very environmentally conscious. I don't know if everyone in the room will agree with all of our things that we picked. We want to only use native vegetation for landscaping. We would like to beautify the plain face buildings with native trees, not just shrubbery. We would like more safe bike paths and tricycle paths and better coverage areas and safer on the bridges. This is very repetitive, I'm sorry. We're over carrying capacity, minimal development, and keep 35-foot height limit. Here's one that hasn't been mentioned, which I know we already do this, but my group said better policing of illegal vacation rentals. They believe that that's a huge amount of the traffic that is out there coming here and benefiting someone who's not contributing to the community. We actually had 6. What was the other one?
The Florida Keys Carrying Capacity Study. We don't have to start from nothing. Back some years, the governor and cabinet authorized a 3-year Florida Keys Carrying Capacity Study for many millions of dollars. And the deal was that local governments were allowed to continue issuing building permits, providing that when the carrying capacity study was done, all the units of local governments would adopt the findings into their comprehensive plans. I raised the money to have that peer-reviewed twice by the National Academy of Sciences. This is a very serious study, and it's a huge document, and it's available. I'm going to get a copy to the staff here, because all the development interests want it to stay right on the shelf, all covered with dust, where it's been for some time. It's all there. We don't have to start from scratch. It's very detailed, and a lot of good mechanisms in it.
I forgot to say something about the map. And then real quick, we were not good artists because we spent all of our time on discussions. And one of the controversial things that we did put on our map is don't astroturf the ball field.
Here, here.
Yeah. That's all.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Table 9. All right. So we had a couple more big picture fundamental ideas, not so much specifics that we were drawing on the map, except for one of our members did suggest, like Don's table, to maybe put a tunnel from the Montessori school to Founders Park for the kids to get under instead of that big bridge that was suggested a while back. Our main discussion was basically around mitigating traffic issues, and that one of the solutions for that was maybe adding more buses from the mainland to come down here for the workforce. But on top of just busing from the mainland through the Keys was also having a circulating bus route for both locals and workers that are from the mainland that need to get around town. The vision for Islamorada at our table came out to be Islamorada should look like a town, a quaint town. I'm not quite sure what that means, but that's out there. And also, I guess, as part of that, incorporating some sort of building design standards. We didn't talk specifics about the difference between residential or commercial, but just, again, putting it out there into the ether that maybe there should be some sort of design standards. And then our other major subject that took most of the time was affordable housing. Again, more of a big picture. We didn't draw anything on the map. Couldn't really pin down where we would like to see affordable housing, except for the one thing that came out is we'd like to see affordable housing everywhere, in every zoning district. It should be open, and the village should be flexible on where we can incorporate affordable housing. And that was what we talked about.
Last table, table 10.
Table 10.
You're going to go first.
One of the advantages of going last is to hear all these great suggestions, many of which we've discussed and covered. This is Roland Moore. I'm Jerry O'Cathy. Our big ideas, let me put my specs on. Number one, consideration of a series of jetties along oceanside island properties to preserve our property from oceanside erosion, from storms, etc. They've done it in other parts of the country. It's built up admirably, and we've even done it down here in places. So that was one of our suggestions. Another one is maintaining Ocean Bay residential canal water quality, which we're doing, thanks to Peter, we're doing a great job on. Maintaining our ROGO to a minimum controlled housing growth. That's often discussed, but a lot of us would like to see minimal growth as opposed to the 3,500 suggested that's being touted. Parking, Island Silver and Spice has been mentioned. Some really good ideas around that. It can be better utilized and for affordable housing workshop, housing, workforce housing, or I like the idea of the fire station being considered for relocation there, and that fire station, existing fire station location being used for public works, which is sorely in need of another location. Eliminate from retail stores all the big box stores. In our communities, we don't see them as serving any real use. Preserve and enhance existing and prospective green areas up and down the Keys. Anything else, Roland?
Yeah, I'd like to mention something which has not been discussed here, but which I think is very important to the village. I am, along with my colleague here, the resident commissioner of history commissioner for the village. I've been a historian for a number of years. I've written books on the history as a former airline person, history of Wings of Man, where we have so many airline people who actually helped develop South Florida as the largest airline in the state of Florida. But what I want to talk about is history of Islamorada. Where I live down in Lower Matacumbe, there are very few people where I live who really know anything about the history of our island. And there's a huge amount of history that we need to educate our constituency. I go up and down our street, and almost invariably, everybody comes from New Jersey or New York or some other state, and they've come to Florida to retire or whatever, and many of them really don't know anything about our history. And I live in the oldest home on Lower Matacumbe, which was actually built for the people who were digging the canals back in the 1940s. And there's a huge amount of history there that I think that if all of our residents could start learning about our history, where we came from. You know, we just have amazing stories. On the beach where I live, a couple of years ago, we had 18 Cuban refugees who showed up on the beach who had been at sea for a period of weeks, who were dying of starvation. And there are so many stories that have never been told. And I would like to encourage that the village undertake to do a study so that we could educate our residents about who we are, where we came from, and where we're going, because
we have an incredible history. And I'd be willing to bet if I gave a history test in this room, not very many people would pass. Probably not one, as Donald said. So I've learned a lot about history, and I want to teach our residents who we are, where we came from, why we're here, and so that we can educate not only ourselves, but our children and our grandchildren. We're raising families here where the children don't know anything about our islands, and we have so much history here.
Nice job, guys. Right, so remember, you can visit us anytime this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're in this space from 9 to 6. And that work in progress presentation is Friday at 6 o'clock. It would be terrific if you could join us for that. It's going to be streamed, and it's going to be available online if you can't join us. All right, let's give a big round of applause for everybody who gave us all the time. What a thoughtful group. Thank you all very much for tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.